Perfect. Alrighty.
This evening, I would like to introduce Peyten Zenahlik.
Zenahlik. It's a scary name.
That's scary. Who is a cyber specialist, has worked in various places in her young life already. She's a Cascade County or a Cascade City graduate in 2018. She has served in the U.S. Army already. She's back and has various degrees. And I'm going to have her tell you a little bit about her work experiences. Until last week, she was with the library as part of the cyber program here. This week, she started a new position at Truro College up here at the new medical school. And I'll have her just talk a little bit about that too, because that's no business in our neighborhood. And we believe we all should know a little bit about that prior to the time that she actually talks about cybersecurity training. So without further ado, Peyten, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Perfect. Well, thank you. So I lived most of my life out in Cascade. I'm still out in Cascade. I graduated out there in 2018. 2 weeks after graduation, I shipped out to the Army. I was in the Montana Army National Guard for 6 years. I just got out last year. I was a police officer. During my time in the Army, I went through school. I started with my bachelor's in criminal justice with concentration in digital forensics. I found out I really loved technology going through that. So I went back to school, this time for an associate's in computer science with another certificate, this time in just forensics. And then I decided, well, let's go for a master's so we could top it off, have all three. So I'm currently an infotech student studying computer science. I just passed the midway point. I'm also doing another concentration in digital forensics. So next August, I'll be done with school, hopefully forever. We'll see. A little bit about my career. When I came back from the Army, I started out with the Cascade County Sheriff's Office. I was a detention officer. I was there from 2019 to 23. So I was at the detention center at the age of 19. By 21, I was running the detention center. I was promoted to a shift supervisor. I also was promoted into the training division. So anyone from 21 to 22 working up there, it was a great time. In 2023, I got hired under a Homeland Security program with the Sheriff's Office, where I was a crime prevention analyst for a year. Following that, I moved directly into the tech field, where I was a contractor for about 8-9 months into IT. Then I came to the city for a little bit. I worked here at the library. And then Truro University, a friend reached out, and I got hired over there. I'm kind of running everything. It's a small team. We're just kind of getting going. And that's where I'm at. Any questions before I continue on?
Set up today. What program did you set up for the doctor students?
So yesterday, my job at Truro is everything and anything IT related. I'm expected to kind of know it. So yesterday I had the honor of setting up their sim lab. It's a big hospital room with 12 patients. So the students can come in, and these patients, they're robotic, they talk, they have fluids, they move, they have real vitals. So it's very realistic to as if you're working on someone without the dangers of hurting them. So I had the opportunity. I spent 13, 14 hours yesterday setting it up. It was fantastic, and I get to watch these students work through their scenarios and see them become doctors. Right now, we have first and second years. The school's only been open for 2 years here. And already, it's fantastic to see kind of the medicine evolve and just to be a part of it. Any more questions before I get started? Yeah. Perfect. It's really quick. With my military background, they always taught us this is how you do a presentation. That is not how I do a presentation anymore. I like to walk around. I'm pretty animated. I'm pretty loud. So during this presentation, if you guys have questions, go ahead, just say it out. You don't have to raise your hand. If I say a term and I don't break it down and you don't understand, let me know, because my job here today is to help you guys, is to give you information. So just stop me at any point, any questions whatsoever. If you hold them till the end, you'll forget, I'll forget. Happens every time. So without further ado, this is cybersecurity training. I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks about computers, cybersecurity, and using the internet. And this is actually a presentation I developed while I worked here at the library. And I just made a few modifications. Go. So what is cybersecurity? Very, very basic. Cybersecurity is the practice of defending basically anything that's like a computer. Computers, servers, your cell phones, networks, anything that you think is technology, as long as you protect it, that's cybersecurity in a nutshell. And then with cybersecurity, obviously we want to protect it, but we also have people who want to hurt it. So we have malicious cyber attacks. And a malicious cyber attack is any attack that tries to gain unauthorized access into your device. So let's say if I put my cell phone on a table and someone comes by and tries to get into it, that's a malicious cyber attack. If I leave my computer open and someone gets in and sends a nasty email, that's a cyber attack. If someone gets on my Wi-Fi network and starts using it, even for good, that's still a cyber attack because I didn't give them permission. So very, very basic. It's just if anyone takes your technology and uses it without your permission. That is just the general definition of a cyber attack. So common cyber security attacks, there are dozens of different attacks out there. They change every day. People are evolving, they're getting smarter. It's absolutely crazy trying to keep up with it. But these are the three most common that you might hear get thrown around or you'll see in the news. The first one is malware, and it's a broad term for any malicious software designed to cause harm. And that's to devices or the internet or your network at your house or at your business. So malware could be something as pop-ups on a window. You're trying to visit a web page and you're getting pop-ups constantly. Well, that's distracting. You can't do your work if you have a window popping up every 2 seconds. That's considered malware. On top of that, our number 2 one that we see a lot is phishing. And it's not the kind where you're on a lake. I know that's the good kind. So phishing is any attempt by a malicious user to steal sensitive information by masquerading as a reputable source while enticing a request. Nowadays, we see those a lot with emails. You'll get an email and the title is going to say, urgent, please respond. It's going to have a sense of urgency. It's going to be telling you to do something. Within that email, it might say, hey, click this link to reset your password. You might be like, oh, it's time for me to reset my password. Don't ever click those links. If you don't expect it coming, I wouldn't trust it. That's kind of the general rule. It's phishing. So for example, I work at Turo. Let's say someone takes my email account, is able to copy it, and sends an email pretending to be me. And they're like, hey, I need the password for this. I didn't send that. That other person's trying to steal information by talking to a third party. That's phishing. So it's pretending basically to be someone else just to get information, kind of get the insider look at what's happening.
Coffee, food, whatever. And so some of us are getting this, please call me, I'm gonna be out of the office, and yeah.
Absolutely. It is super common. And phishing attacks, they could take over an entire building. If you click a link, oh, it's a wormhole. You never know what's going to happen. You could download and get something malicious. It could lock you out of files, which kind of leads me to my third most common one. It's ransomware. Now, ransomware is a malicious program that accidentally gets downloaded onto your device that locks it and says, hey, I want you to pay me all this money, and maybe I'll give you back the files. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get those files back. Don't ever pay them either. That's their whole goal, is to get money and kind of play a trick on you. With ransomware, I threw a few case studies in here that happened recently. Actually, the public school system here, just a few years ago, someone clicked a link in their email, it downloaded ransomware, and it locked all the schools for their data. So for a whole week, these schools, the teachers could not use their computers. Their IT team was struggling. It was scary. And I can't tell you if they paid the money or not because I wasn't with the school system. I can just say don't ever pay them. That's the worst thing you could do. So this is what malware could look like. I try to go to a website, say I'm trying to go to, we'll say Facebook. A lot of people use Facebook. I don't use Facebook. But say I'm trying to go to Facebook and a scary screen pops up like this. What you're gonna see is if you ever click on a wrong link, you could get a scary page that says, you have a virus. Call Microsoft right now. You need to not shut off your computer. If you ever see these screens, it's just a web page made to look scary. It's not legitimate. You can turn off your computer. In fact, a lot of times these screens will blow up, so it doesn't even look like an internet browser anymore. And it will say, don't turn off your computer, and it will flash and make turn off your computer, and when you turn it back on, it's gone, because it was just a web page. And this is super common nowadays because it's super easy. I can go design a website that looks just like any other website, maybe take me an hour or two, and then create all those warnings saying, hey, I hacked you. And if you didn't know that that was fake, I could put my phone number, and then you call, and I'm gonna say, hey, you pay me. I want something in return. When in reality, I didn't steal anything of yours. I didn't destroy your device. These are just made to look scary. And this is phishing. You said a phishing email earlier is what happened to your church.
It's weird because I expect that kind of thing, pay money or whatever, and a link. There was no link in the email. It just said, I will be out of the office, or call me. But there was no money involved, so it was weird. I'm like, I don't think you people know what you're doing for phishing. It doesn't have anything in it that is, yeah. So there was a broadcast phone call out to all of our parishioners saying, please don't, ignore that. She would call you, that.
Exactly. And sometimes in phishing, malicious people are brand new at trying to trick people. So they send out an email like that and they forget key details. Before, with these emails, you would look for misspellings, bad grammars. You would look for some kind of link. But now we have AI. So AI makes it super scary because I can go and say, hey, type me an email that's going to steal someone's data. And an AI program will pop it out, and I just got to send it to people. So now you got to look even harder because you're not going to see misspellings anymore. You're not going to see bad grammar. You might still see links. And when it comes to phishing, the practice I live by, if I didn't expect that email, I don't open it. If it's really important, they'll send me another one. But these are super common because I can go, let's take the library page, for example. I can go on the Great Falls Library website and I can get emails for staff because they're listed. And then I can go send my malicious email because that information's out there for me to have. So this is just kind of what a phishing email looks like. Again, here's the download. Don't ever download anything because if you open this email alone, that's okay. But if you download, that's where it gets dangerous because they're going to be able to put malicious programs on your computer. And that's when you get locked out, they request money, you can't access data. That's when it gets a little bit harder to recover from. And then this is the ransomware I talked about. So this is a pop-up saying, hey, we stole your data, pay us this money, we'll give the data back. Don't ever pay. The way around this is by backing up your files. So say if you get ransomware, you accidentally open an email, you click the link and it downloaded. And now you get a pop-up saying, hey, I'm not going to give you your data back until you pay me. If you're able to back up your computer to the day prior or whenever before you downloaded that email, your information's safe. There's no way for them to steal. In the future, hey, don't click on this. That's the #1 way to prevent this kind of attack from stealing your information and kind of becoming a victim to this cyber attack. And this is earlier, I won't read through these, but these are cyber attacks that happened here in Montana within the last couple years. A super big one was just 2023, Montana State University fell victim to a cyber attack where they called in the National Guard because it was that bad. They couldn't get their data back. They didn't know what to do. They got thousands of staff, college students. They had no access to anything. So they called in the Guard with their cyber team saying, hey, can you help us out? In 2022, over 200,000 medical records from Logan Healthcare and Kalispell were stolen. They're just out there floating around for someone to go find, to go read, to go see. You got to think what's in health records. name, social security number, your phone number, your address, your relatives, health information. That's pretty sensitive information. That's stuff you wouldn't want out there. But now for 200,000 medical records, that's out there. And then in 2020, I touched on this earlier. This was the public school system that fell victim to the ransomware. So that's when someone downloaded something by mistake and the school was locked out until their IT team was able to come up with a resolution, solve the issue. They don't give any explanation to how they fixed it. It's just that one's pretty close. I mean, that's here in town. So this stuff does happen to not only individuals, but big businesses and entities as well.
So it's bad because they can identity, but they've got all the
Absolutely.
trifecta of information, but then also
Yep.
and they will take that, your insurance information, they will go to the hospital, use your insurance information to get care, which is now stealing from the insurance company.
Absolutely. And
Fraud.
giant financial impact that, I mean, it's crazy. As soon as someone gets your information, what they can do with it is absolutely scary. So what can we do to prevent all that scary stuff I just talked about? It sounds really scary, but there is prevention. There is ways that you can protect yourself to make sure it never happens to you. And these are just a few prevention techniques. There's hundreds and hundreds of different techniques. As cybersecurity advances and as cyber attacks advances, we have to think of different ways to prevent falling victim to any kind of attack. So the best one is think before you click. I'm a click happy person. I'll open tabs, I'll click on things, I'm in documents. I run 4 monitors at my work. It's crazy. And I have to tell myself all the time, slow down. Because it takes one wrong click to hit a website that's not legitimate, to get those scary pop-up messages, or to get yelled at by another IT person because I fell victim to that. Use strong passwords and make sure that they're different between all platforms, which I know is super hard because it's nice to have one password for everything because you only have to remember one. But it only takes me getting one of your passwords to now I have access to your bank. I could get into your accounts, social media. So always different passwords and avoid using generic ones. Don't use names in your family. Don't use password. Stay away from 1, 2, 3, 4. Because once someone's in your account, that's when it's scary. That's when your data is at risk, and that's when other accounts could get compromised. Some other tips, I talked about making data backups. If you back up your data, say you do fall victim to a cyber incident, you back up to the previous date when you made that backup, and your data is still safe. They can't go back in time and get your data. To always back up your data, I put stuff, I have thumb drives on me all the time. After I do a college paper, I've lost a college paper once and I cried forever. So as soon as I finish a paper, I save it on 2 different spots. So I never fall in that position again. It was a really terrible paper. It was about laws. We talked about phishing. Avoid unfamiliar websites. If you see a website that has a scary name in it, probably don't go to it. One thing when looking at websites, always look for www at the beginning of the website. There are now websites that say like wwh or www2. Those are all malicious. Those are not legitimate websites. So you're looking for www. Let's see. Just in general, be a cautious user. You don't have to be afraid of the internet or technology. Just take your time. Don't rush through anything. And if you're ever suspicious, it never hurts to ask a friend. All the time, I'll visit websites. I'll have questions about stuff. I'll pull a coworker over. I'll say, hey, what does this look like? I kind of get a different opinion. Just that way, you know, you can think it through. As someone who's click happy, you don't want to visit the wrong sites. It's not great.
I was gonna ask that question, how that there. So if you go and use a public Wi-Fi, I've never had VPN on my phone.
So VPN just stands for Virtual Private Network. I have one on my phone. I use a free one called Proton. It's on both the Apple Store and the Google Store. And basically what it does is I'll connect to the library Wi-Fi here. I'll turn on my VPN, which makes my own little computer network, so people can't see my data. Because there are free programs out there that I could get on the Wi-Fi network and I could start seeing what every person's doing. And that means I can see if you're using a credit card, I can get those numbers. I can see if you're getting into different accounts, I could get all that data. Typically, for people to be able to do that, there is quite a bit of work and knowledge to go into it. I didn't start learning how to do that until a couple months ago, and it's very difficult. So the likelihood of it happening is not high, but it's not zero. Because I know how to do that. If I was a bad person, I could go to a coffee shop, I could sit for 20 minutes, and I could get Facebooks, Instagram, Twitters, whatever the kids use for social media, I could get it all. And once I get that, there's no telling what I could do. I mean, I could make messages, I could completely ruin a person. I had it when I was a contractor, one of our schools, someone got the principal's email and they sent out nasty emails to law firms across the whole United States. So every hour on the hour, lawyers were calling and screaming at a principal who had no clue what was going on. And there's tons of VPNs out there. There's free ones, there's paid ones.
One you usually use like Proton.
Yep. I use Proton. There's dozens. If you look up virtual private network or VPN, there's a ton of articles and information out there. I use Proton just because it's free. I'm a college student. I like free things. So when in doubt, report. That's what I was earlier saying. If you're suspicious of something, tell someone. If you have an IT person at your work and an organization you're with, let them know. Because IT people love to hear about cybersecurity. We love to hear, like, how could we help people? How could we prevent someone from falling victim? So report right away, even if you think it's nothing. It's okay, we love to hear about it because there's new tricks coming out every day. And if we don't hear about things, how are we gonna prevent and save our users? One thing I was always taught, we were taught to unplug your computer and the internet cable on the back if you suspect a cyber incident until you can talk to an IT. Because if you get, for example, let's just say a virus on a computer and it's plugged into a network to the internet, that can travel. So say you get a virus at your house on your computer and you have another computer plugged in, that could travel from point A to point B. So you just went from one infected device to two. So when in doubt, if you have no IT person around, you have no one to talk to, just power down the device, make sure it doesn't have internet, and then someone you know in IT. There's a ton of small IT businesses around too that you could call and be like, hey, here's what I ran into. Can you give some advice? What do you think I should do? And all the time they'll tell you, like, bring it into me, or I think you're safe. Because we're in the business of helping people. That's a lot of IT. We want to automate tasks and we want to help people. So in addition to this presentation, I also have some safe internet practices since everything's on the internet nowadays. These are just some key tips that I've developed over time that I love to show people. So safe internet practices, there are essential guidelines and habits people should have when you use the internet. Because the internet's constantly growing, there's no way to completely avoid it. I mean, you could, it's very hard, but it's nice to know, how can I use the internet and be safe? How can I go online and look up a record and make sure no one's going to steal my data, or I'm not going to accidentally download something malicious? So what to look for when visiting a website? I worked for a library here, so I use the library website as an example. If you know the website you're going to visit, type it out. So greatfallslibrary.org, that's what I would type if I wanted to visit the website. If I type in just Great Falls Library, there's a Great Falls in Virginia, I might get their website. I might get a fake website that someone built. So if you know the exact website name, just type it out completely. I know everyone loves shorthand to save time, but malicious users rely on people cutting corners and able to steal data. Also, look for this padlock here. That padlock is a internet policy, an internet norm, as you would say, to show it is secure. For you to get a padlock on a website, someone actually has to go and register that website and have certain cybersecurity mitigation from being stolen. So if you're on a, you're like, is this safe or not? Look for that padlock. And typically now, most internet browsers are going to tell you if a website is insecure. The second you go into it, it's going to say not secure, and it's usually red as like a warning, like, hey, don't put any sensitive data in this website. This is not a good place to be. But it's important to know that just because a website's unsecure does not mean it can't become. There are things that IT people can go and do, register the website, get it certificates, and it becomes secure and your data is safe. So just be mindful. Always look for a padlock icon. If you're like, okay, I'm about to buy something. I'm going to put my credit card in here. I want to make sure my data is safe. And again, this is what I talked about. It says not secure and it has the triangle, that warning triangle, like, hey, don't use this. And I talked about earlier how websites can become secure again. And this is just the kind of the prompt that pops up when you visit an unsecure website. And this is a Google browser right here, but it tells you your sensitive information on this website's not safe. So passwords, credit cards, anything you put into this, anyone can go read. There are free programs out there that I can run, anyone can run, and it will start spitting out all this data saying, hey, John Doe put in this information, and now I have John Doe's information. And avoid sponsor links. So this is super popular. I'll go to Google and I'll type in, oh, I want to eat at this restaurant up here, or I want to visit the Great Falls Library. Usually at the top, once you click that in and search, you're going to find something at the top saying sponsored. What that is, someone paid to have their website show up first. And it's not expensive. It's actually very cheap to do this. So I'll create a malicious website. I'll pay to have it show up on top. So you're more likely to click on it. As soon as you click on it, your data is mine. I have all your personal information. I have all your credit card information. And it's just a trick that's becoming popular. It's been around for a while, but it's showing up again. Everything comes in waves, and this is coming back. And this is called search engine optimization. Typically, company will legitimately do this to get their website on top, so they get more website visits. But malicious people will do it as well, so they could be on top. So it's a constant battle for who's going to show up first. So you as the user will click on it. And say you go to a website. Have you ever been to a website and there's a pop-up and it's like, hey, allow notifications? If you click yes, this could kind of be the outcome. You always got to think, why is this website asking me for notifications? Let's say social media. Okay, they're probably going to let me know when someone sends me a message or likes a photo. But if I'm visiting an article just to learn about something and it says, hey, let me send you notifications, think, why? What are they trying to tell me? Well, a lot of times you'll get pop-ups like this. And it's those scary pop-ups. These are fake. And it's going to say, hey, you have viruses, your computer's infected. This is a super common one that happens in Google. You'll get pop-up after pop-up after pop-up, and you can X all you want, and it's just going to keep going. I did. It's super common, and it's super easy to fix if it ever happens to anyone. There's a setting that allows you to turn off notifications. Say, I don't want you to notify me, and then they go away. That's how you fix it. But this is common, and then this is a phone version too, so you can get it on your cell phone as well. So if you're visiting websites and it says allow and you accidentally click it, be mindful you might get that fake message saying, hey, your account's compromised, you have a virus. X out of the website, try again, or disable the notifications if you can. And then this is the end of my presentation, but if you're ever interested in computers, learning about cybersecurity, if you're a member of the library here, they have LinkedIn Learning. It's free online. I used it to get certified, to get some computer certifications. They have tons of videos, articles. You put in your library card, ton of free resources. It's actually fantastic, and I didn't know about it until I started working here. I just passed a $500 certification exam with no study materials besides this. And they range from beginner level knowledge to what I was taking at expert level. So if you're like, hey, that person mentioned fishing, I'm kind of curious about it. You go to LinkedIn Learning, you type in fishing, you'll get videos, you'll get pictures, posters, if you're just ever curious about additional information. And it updates pretty frequently. I typically look at this once every week or so, and I'll type in cybersecurity, and I'll click new, and there's always new videos posted by professional companies. So that's just a resource if anyone is kind of curious of, hey, I want information about this, I want a trusted resource. I like this one right here. There's tons out there, but since I worked at the library, I had to promote it. Any questions for me?
Could you speak to the web?
So
We were notified with the link that your social security number and telephone number were on the dark web.
yes, what was it? A month ago, the Social Security Administration got hacked, and billions of Social Security numbers got stolen. So the dark web is kind of like if you went to Google, it's a big database where you get information. But to get on the dark web, it's pretty hard. And what the dark web is, it contains information that's typically malicious, not suitable for work, stolen information. Early 2000s, people were selling drugs on it. There was a huge case. Getting on the dark web is super hard. A lot of what you hear about the dark web isn't true. You'll hear like, they're selling bombs on the dark web, they're kidnapping people. It's not true. The dark web amped up to look super, super scary, but there is information on there. What happens is those data leaks. People will claim to steal your data and they'll throw it on the dark web. A lot of the times the data on the dark web is fake. It's all a trick. So I'm gonna go on the dark web and say, hey, I have your social security number. Pay me $5 and I'll give it back to you. It's just gonna be a made up number. There is true information out there, but just know the FBI has a whole division that tracks the dark web. The FBI is the primary agency that works on the dark web to capture people who are doing legitimate malicious acts. Just know information is out there, but the likelihood of it being real is super high. I've been notified, I'm 24. I've probably been notified 20 times in my life that my social security number is somewhere out there. I still have a 800 credit score and doing pretty good. No one stole my information yet. But it's all kind of, it's a game of cat and mouse. What can I get you to believe from me? And then what kind of money can I get out of you? Yep, freeze your credit. Yep, I did that as well. It's super smart. Just go. It is fast, free. When big agencies like the Social Security Administration get hacked, it is good. They usually put out prevention. We had this data leak. They typically won't tell you what got stolen. And a lot of times, like, a little amount gets stolen, but they can't tell you that. And then what happens is news agencies pick it up and they tell you a lot got stolen. It happens all the time. But freezing your stuff, very, very smart. I did the same thing the very next day. But just know, dark web sounds super duper scary. A lot of it is just made up. It's scary stories people put online to get the average person just to believe me. So hopefully that answers. Okay.